Okay, so for this final video in the lessons dealing with the map document and data frames within the ArcPy mapping module, we're going to take a look at a script that loops through a directory and identifies the broken data sources in each map document and writes those to a list. And this can be a nice script to use if you want to get an inventory across multiple directories as to what the broken data sources are. So it's going to follow very similarly to the previous script we showed in the last lesson. So we import ArcPy OS and system. We use our standard try and except statements. We write the messages from the text file or error messages to the text file and the finally clause. So we have our placeholder for the text to go into the text file. We have our text file. We call it broken data sources report.txt. Once again, we have a variable for our directory, the directory that we want to search within for broken data sources. It's this maps folder. So we add a message finding broken data sources for map documents in, and the placeholder is the directory variable. And so I want to mention what this is doing again because it seems a little bit complicated and it's a new concept, so it doesn't hurt. So once again, os.listdir is going to get us a list containing the names of entries in a directory. So we pass in a directory variable. So this is a list. So for file name in this, so for each file name in list, so for each item in that directory, we're going to create a variable full path. We use the os.path.join the directory and the file name. So this will get us, for example, this directory and then the name of this file, and so forth. So then we're going to run this function os.path_is_file on this full path. Is_path returns true or false depending upon whether it's an existing regular file. So for any files, we're going to continue on. If it was a folder, we would do nothing with it. So we're only working with files in this directory. So we're going to use the os.path.split text to get the base name for the file and the extension. So the root extension. So now we can figure out what kind of files they are. And so if it's a .mxd file, if it's a map document, then we're going to go ahead with our ArcPy. So we add a message. We're listing the broken data sources for, and then we know the file name. So it's going to end up being for this file, this file, this file, this file, and this file, because they're map documents. So we have to create a variable for our map document. We have to create a map document object. So mxd will be equal to arcpy.mapping.map document full path. So we now constructed a map document object. And so we have this variable broken list. We run arcpy.mapping.list broken data sources for mxd, and this will return a list of broken data sources. And so it's possible that a map may have no broken data sources. So if the length of that list is equal to 0, there's no items in it. So we'll write there are no broken data sources in this map. So it's good to have a control if there's no data sources. Else, if the length is greater than 1, then there's actually items. There are broken data sources. So then we're going to loop through that broken data sources list. So for each broken data source in that list, we're going to add a message, new line. This creates a tab, the name of that layer, because it's going to return a list of layers, and we'll get into the layer class in the next part of this unit. Then we're going to create some spacers. So basically, each time, so what we're doing is we're going to get a listing of the files, a list of the files in the directory, and we're going to look through each file, or sorry, each entry. We're going to get the directory and name. If that item is a file, then we're going to figure out its extension. If it's an MXD file, then we're going to create a map document object from it. Then we're going to run the list broken data sources on that map document to get a list of broken data sources. If the length of that list is 0, then there's no broken data sources. We write a message there. Else, if there are items in that list, we're going to loop through that list of broken data sources and then basically add a tab and get the name of that layer. And then we'll get our listing or inventory of broken data sources. So there's an environment error, exception error. So our finally clause, if the MXD exists, we're going to delete that variable to release the locks on the MXD file. And then we'll open our text file in write mode and add a message to that. And so you can see the same basic logic for whether you want to get broken data sources or update properties from app documents is the same. So I encourage you to take this sample code and use it for your organization. You know, if you're using network drives, consider using the UNC path as opposed to the letter drive. You could dive a little bit deeper and loop through a directory, and then, you know, if it was a folder, you could enter into that folder and check those map documents. That's beyond this course, but that's a good thing to try on your own. You can probably look on GeoNet or some of those other forums I mentioned to figure out how to do that. And then maybe you want to share that on GeoNet to help other people out as well. So let's go ahead and run this script and see the listing of the broken data sources. Our script has finished running, so let's take a look at that text file. Here we have broken data sources report. And so we can have our message finding broken data sources in this directory. So listing of broken data sources for this City of Philadelphia map document. There's no broken data sources, so that's good. Then for this map, we have the name of those layers. For this map, those layers. For this map, no broken data sources. And then for this map document, those. So having this script is going to save you a lot of time. If you were to have to manually open up each map document and check that, that would take a long time. You use the script, it does a lot faster. You can have the script run and you can be working on other things, or maybe you have the script run as a scheduled task overnight. So there's a lot of power with this ArcPy mapping module to automate these various administrative tasks with map documents, whether it's getting broken data sources, updating titles or credits, exporting maps, changing the scale, changing the display units. And in the next part of this unit, when we get into the layer object, you'll see how we can take a similar approach. And maybe if you have your streams, you create a layer file and you want all of your streams to be the same, symbolized the same way, then you can loop through your map documents, identify those that have that layer, that streams layer, and you can update the symbology using that layer file.